Next up in our ACC preview is the Miami Hurricanes. And Dalton, they really started off on hot last year. They were 4-0, but then they lost 6 of their last 9 games, including a disastrous loss to Georgia Tech, where simply all they had to do was kneel on the football, and they won the game. They didn't do that. They fumbled the ball, and Georgia Tech ended up scoring a game-winning touchdown right after that. But Mario Cristobal, heading into his third year as a head coach, some pressure is starting to mount on him, Dalton, right now. He has a 12-13 record over his first 2 years, which obviously isn't good enough at Miami. But fortunately for him, he has arguably the best roster in the ACC at his disposal this year, with many key players coming back and some really big transfers coming in as well. And Dalton, Miami was among my top 10 position units at running back, receiving core, offensive line, and defensive line, and they added a potential star at quarterback in Cam Ward as well. So by all accounts, Dalton, this is one of the best teams in the ACC right now.
Absolutely, and look, that's a loaded roster, and all the flash right now is on Cam Ward and Damian Martinez and even Xavier Restrepo. But I'm going to tell you what, if they're going to win an ACC title, the reason is going to be this deep defensive line. You had them number 3 on your top 10 position unit rankings. I think they have enough depth where you could argue them up to number 1, right? You're talking about stars. Reuben Bain, Tyler Barron, Elijah Alston, who's coming in from Marshall, was tied for the second best overall grade in the country last year among edge players. Simeon Barrow from Michigan State. You're getting Akeem Mesidor back from injury this year. Even guys maybe you haven't heard of, like a Marley Cook, who's coming in from Middle Tennessee. He had a 90 pass rush grade down there 2 years ago. This is a deep defensive line. All of these guys can rush the passer, and I think it's the position unit on any team in the ACC to watch right now.
And they're really going to help out what looks like their biggest weakness as of right now. And weakness is putting it strongly. Like, I don't think this secondary is as bad as calling it a true weakness, but it is, one of the units on this team that's not loaded, right? So you got to say the secondary right now. They only bring back one starter in their secondary in Darryl Porter Jr., who actually is a really, really good player. I think he had an 80-plus grade last year. They added Michelle Powell from Washington, who was Washington's starting slot corner last year from the transfer portal. But their other projected starters earned sub-65 grades in reserve roles last year in Damari Brown, Jaden Harris, and transfer safety Isaiah Taylor from Arizona. So you have Darryl Porter Jr., you have Michelle Powell, who are proven players. But other than that, there's not a lot of proven guys in that secondary. Now, again, calling it a weakness is really, really strong. But it's just what you have to say, right? Because they have so many other units on this team that are really, really good, including at quarterback, Dawn, and Cam Ward, who a lot of people are super high on for the NFL draft. We actually interviewed. He's a great kid back when he was at Washington State. What should we know about Cam Ward as he heads into his first year as Miami's starting quarterback?
So Cam Ward, now he had a career year last year, and a really good year. I think there's a very clear cutoff for him with what happens when he's really good and what happens when he struggles, right? When he's within structure, right, and he makes quick decisions, let's say under 2.5 seconds, he's spectacular, okay? On throws under 2.5 seconds last year to 90.3 passing grade, was second in the nation behind Bo Nix, okay? So you're talking about a guy who can, 1, make quick decisions, and 2, get the ball down the field. A 93.6 passing grade on 10-plus yard targets, that's the 11th best in the country last season. So he can get downfield, and he can get downfield quick. Where he falters is late play decision-making, right? When he's trying to improvise and break the pocket, and, last year, I get it, Washington State was struggling and their pass protection wasn't very good. He tries to do too much, man. I mean, these are the facts. Late in the play, he can't try to do too much. Either find a safe option, throw the ball away, maybe take a sack without fumbling, protect the football late in the play. That's the biggest X factor for him. He's got 46 fumbles in his career, including 14 last year. You just see times in his tape he's trying to do way too much late in play, past the 3.5 second mark, right? Ball security is going to be everything for him. When he has to improvise, look, man, just either find Xavier Restrepo or throw the ball out of bounds, right? Live to fight another down. But within structure, he's excellent, right? And you would hope with better pass protection and better weapons this year, Washington State had a good group of weapons. This is a really, really good group of weapons at Miami. Play within structure, play to live another down, out of structure, and move on, and he'll be fine. But ball security late in play is going to be the big thing to watch with Cam Ward.
It definitely is. You mentioned one of those weapons is Xavier Restrepo coming back. He's, I think, the best receiver that Miami's got on this team, and he's the most productive returning slot receiver that we have in college football. He had 1,074 receiving yards from the slot last year. That was second among all receivers in the country, only behind Malik Washington, who's now with the Miami Dolphins. So 87.5 grade last year as well. That was seventh among Power 5 receivers. Ultimate security blanket. I think, Cam Ward, who likes to break the pocket a lot, is going to be a guy who's really, really valuable. He did a great job, I think Restrepo did last year, of coming back to find the football, right? Coming back to his quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. That's going to be huge for Cam Ward, and not pushing the ball downfield when he doesn't need to. He can just find Restrepo, move the chains. I think that's going to be really valuable for him. He's an elite route runner. He had 53 catches that went for a first down or a touchdown. That was third among all returning Power 5 receivers as well. So I think he's one of the 5 best receivers that we have in college football. And like I said, he should be Cam Ward's best friend in 2024.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got talent like that on the outside. You should be able to win. And I'll tell you what, I mentioned that defensive line earlier being the unit to watch. And the guy to watch is actually maybe the youngest guy of the entire unit. That's Ruben Bain Jr., man. What he did last year as a true freshman, at least by PFF standards, was darn near record-setting. 89.3 pass rush grade as a true freshman, the second best in PFF history by a Power 5 true freshman behind Myles Garrett, who's arguably the best defensive player in the NFL right now. Some other guys he passed up on that list, like guys like Nick Bosa and Dexter Lawrence. Look, Ruben Bain has the potential to be a superstar. He's wicked strong for such a young kid. He looked like a senior last year. Just his body, especially his lower body. He's so strong, Max, and is just powerful rushing, inside, outside flexibility. There is just a lot to work with here. 275-pound anchor off of the edge or even inside. He's the youngest player of that group, but honestly, he's the best one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dalton, with one of the most talented teams in the conference, is this your pick to win the ACC and make the college football playoff, or are you a little bit more hesitant on picking the Hurricanes right now?
You know what's weird is I think their first game at Florida is the most fascinating game of week 1. I really do. How quickly does Cam Ward adjust to the environment? Can they go into the swamp and beat the Gators, even though they should? I think they have more talent than the Gators. I think they should beat them, but it's still a tough environment week 1. And how can all these transfers get adjusted to life in Miami, right? And then there's just the factor of putting it together and not having a game like they did against Georgia Tech last year. I think I would pick them to be in the ACC title game. I feel like them and Clemson are my top 2 right now, and it's tough because Clemson's they're generally the animal you have to get by, right, if you're going to win the ACC. So their performance in big games, and I think they've got a big game coming right away at Florida, is going to be the X factor for them. I know you're locked in on it. I'd be very tempted to pick them. I do think I'm with you. I think they're the most talented team in the ACC, and the only concern I really have is you mentioned the secondary. Right down the middle of their defense at linebacker, and both of their starting safeties got drafted. That would be the one thing for me when they're playing maybe more high-powered offenses, but they're certainly the most talented team in the ACC. I'm with that.
Yeah, man, they're loaded. I like one of their linebackers, Francisco Mauigoa. I think he's a really, really good player. But, yeah, there is some concern with that back 7 on the defense. But, man, this is the most talented team in the conference. I actually think, Mario Cristobal, for all the flack he got last year, and deservedly so for that Georgia Tech game, before that, man, he was actually a really good coach at Oregon, right? He led Oregon to Rose Bowl victories and all that, 10-win seasons. And I think Miami is going to be my pick to win their first ACC championship in program history and secure a college football playoff berth. I'm doing it. I'm picking Miami. It feels wrong. It kind of feels like picking Texas before, obviously, their great year last year. Saying, oh, they're going to be back this year, I promise. No, I'm doing it, man. I'm going to try to be early on this and say, yeah, I'm picking Miami to win the conference. Right now, they have the 3rd best odds to win the conference right now. They play a relatively hard schedule, right? They play Florida, they play Louisville, they play Florida State. But, man, I think Miami has a really good shot of beating all those teams and getting to the college football playoff as well. So I'm picking the Miami Hurricanes to make the playoff, but that's what we got for our preview of Miami heading into 2024. Hey, thanks for watching the PFF College Football Show. Before I let you go, though, we have an unbelievable deal for you guys right now. If you use the code CFB25, you get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. We've got the 2024 College Football Preview Guide that you can find over at pff.com, featuring the best players in the country from all 70 Power 5 teams, plus 10 Group of 5 teams that have the best chance at making the college football playoff as well. You can also gain access to NCAA premium stats for historical games, teams, and player tracking dating all the way back to 2014, so the last decade or so of college football. All the stats you can hope for, you can find in PFF Premium as well. Also, you can be the GM of your favorite NFL team with our unbelievable mock draft simulator where you can draft up to 7 rounds of players for your NFL team. And if you want to dominate your fantasy league, you can do that as well using the best fantasy tools on the planet. All of that and more with your PFF Plus annual subscription, which you can find for 25% off right now with the code you can find in the description. Or if you want to go to subscribe.pff.com and use the code CFB25 at checkout. Again, you get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. This won't last forever, so make sure you take advantage of it right now.